Few crimes chill us as deeply as those committed against children. But when the perpetrators are not strangers, not outsiders, but the very parents entrusted to love and protect, the horror cuts even deeper. This is the heartbreaking story of Baby Emmanuel Haro in California, a case that began as a desperate search for a missing infant, but soon unraveled into a tale of lies, abuse, and ultimate betrayal. It was supposed to be an ordinary day in California when the parents of 3-month-old Emmanuel Haro made a shocking claim. Their baby had been kidnapped. Police were alerted. Alerts went out. The community braced itself for the worst. Volunteers searched neighborhoods, highways, and parks, hoping to spot the missing infant. Strangers offered prayers, and neighbors brought food and comfort to the grieving parents. But as investigators began to probe deeper, cracks in the story started to show. Detectives quickly realized something wasn't right. The parents' accounts of the supposed kidnapping were inconsistent. Timelines didn't match. Witnesses contradicted their statements. As investigators pressed harder, disturbing evidence emerged inside the family's home. Signs of neglect, signs of abuse, and, worst of all, no trace of baby Emmanuel where his parents had claimed he had been taken. The tragic truth began to surface. Emmanuel had never been kidnapped at all. Instead, investigators concluded that baby Emmanuel had been the victim of ongoing abuse inside his own home. The tiny infant had suffered unimaginable pain at the hands of the very people who should have been his protectors, his parents. The so-called kidnapping was nothing more than a cover story, a desperate attempt to shift blame and mislead the community. But lies can only go so far before the truth demands to be seen. When the truth was revealed, the community's grief turned to anger. People who had spent days searching for Emmanuel now realized their efforts were in vain. The betrayal was almost too much to process. How could parents do this? How could the ones who rocked him to sleep, who heard his first cries, also be the ones who ended his short life? For many, this case wasn't just about one family. It became a painful reminder of the unseen abuse happening behind closed doors. As details emerged, investigators pieced together the pattern of abuse. Neighbors reported concerns. Some had heard arguments, cries, or sensed something was wrong. Social workers and law enforcement revealed troubling histories, warnings, and red flags that, in hindsight, painted a grim picture of a household in crisis. Baby Emmanuel had lived only 3 months, but in that short time, he had endured cruelty that no child should ever face. True crime cases often explore betrayal by strangers, by friends, even by extended family. But this case struck differently because the betrayal came from the most sacred bond of all, that of parent and child. Psychologists note that in cases like these, perpetrators often fabricate stories, kidnappings, accidents, medical emergencies, in a desperate attempt to deflect suspicion. But behind those stories lies the same tragic truth. A vulnerable child lost, not to fate, but to violence. As charges were filed, the parents faced the full weight of the law. Prosecutors emphasized the cruelty, the deception, and the betrayal of trust, not only toward Emmanuel, but toward the entire community who had searched for him. Courtrooms heard the grim details of the abuse. Jurors and judges alike struggled to reconcile the smiling photos of baby Emmanuel with the violence he had endured. Ultimately, the parents were held responsible for his death, and justice, however delayed, began its course. The story of baby Emmanuel spread beyond California. It sparked conversations about child abuse, neglect, and the systems designed to protect the most vulnerable. Community leaders called for stronger interventions, more support for at-risk families, and better awareness so warning signs aren't ignored. For many, Emmanuel's story became a painful call to action, a reminder that vigilance can sometimes save a life. Most parents would give their lives to protect their children. That is the instinct we expect, the bond we take for granted. But in rare, devastating cases like this, that bond is shattered. Baby Emmanuel never got to take his first steps. He never spoke his first words. His life was stolen before it had even truly begun, and the ones responsible were the very people who should have been his shield. The case of baby Emmanuel Haro forces us to ask painful questions. How could this happen? What signs were missed? And what can we, as communities, do to make sure children are protected, even when danger comes from those closest to them? For now, all we can do is remember Emmanuel. His short life is a reminder that behind every statistic, every headline, there is a child whose story deserved to be different. What do you think? How can we better protect children from the ones meant to love them most? Share your thoughts below. And if you want more stories from history and modern times where betrayal and crime intersect, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe.